Decorating Pages is a podcast dedicated to taking you behind the scenes of the designs of your favorite TV shows and films. Each episode, I'll be sharing design stories from some of Hollywood's most famous sets. Interviews from set decorators, production designers, directors, and actors about creating the look of TV and film, about their design inspirations, and stories that take sets from page to screen. Hello, and welcome to Decorating Pages. I'm your host, Kim Wanup. Feeling a little refreshed and having a long Mother's Day weekend last weekend in Palm Springs. It was beautiful. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold. I want to give a shout out to this wonderful zoo called the Living Desert in Palm Desert. It was fabulous. And not only did we get to feed giraffes, we saw rhinos, we walked alongside kangaroos. The best part was there was nobody there. I mean, I maybe saw 20 people the whole time. It was fantastic and not crowded and awesome in that sense. And then on top getting to see these animals, it was hot. I'm not going to lie. We went, it was almost 100. You know, you get some snacks and some cool, the kids were fine, but we didn't melt. But it was really great, and it really made me, think a lot about zoo design and how intricate it has to be for these animals. And it was, I don't know, I had a really good time. I would totally recommend it if you are out there and looking for something to do. It's probably not crowded a lot because it's so hot, but all the animals are fine. They're all from like Africa and Australia. They're used to it. They're fine. It's good. But anyway, the Living Zoo in Palm Desert, check it out if you were there. It's really great. I did get some good TV watching in this week too. Of course I did. What else would want to be doing? I finished Ozark. Well, production designer David Bamba and set decorator Kim Alias. I don't know how I feel about that ending. I don't know. What did you think? I mean, it's 5 seasons and then we get that. I don't know. I feel like they should not have split up that last season. Seriously, that didn't help. So I think that was a little uncalled for, but I don't know how I feel about that. And then I finished Julia, the show about Julia Child on HBO Max, and wow, what a delightful show that was. I can't even wait for the second season, and I know the ending of that one. I finished Winning Time on HBO Max. Again, I just love the look and the camera work of the show, and on a whole, I think the series was really good storytelling and interesting, and even if you aren't a basketball fan or a Lakers fan, which I'm not, I'd just like to applaud the DP on that. They had 2, Todd Behenzi and Mahani Malamare Jr. I think, you know me with pronunciation. But yeah, really enjoyed Winning Time. I don't know if that's coming back. I don't know if that was a oneer or not. The other thing I started on HBO Max is The Staircase, which is a true story based on a woman falling down the stairs and dying, and then her husband being, blamed for the murder, or it was an owl. Maybe she was outside and an owl clipped her head and then caused her to bleed inside. I don't know. I kind of get that theory. I don't know. If you know what I'm talking about, I kind of get that theory, but why was there no blood from the pool to the staircase? She would have bled. So, but I've been found, there's a documentary years ago, and then set decorator David Smith did a Lifetime movie years ago about this case, which I watched and then made me want to watch the documentary like years later when it came on. So it's been out there since, or it's happened in 2001. So if you're into murder mysteries, let's talk. That's a good one. I think he did it. I mean, here's the best thing about this show. If you're into this, they have recreated the scenarios so far of either, she fell on the steps and died. Okay. And they show it, obviously, I think digitally, the way that she falls and everything. because you really got to throw your head back into that wall to kill yourself. And then showing how they think he did it. And it's really, and again, good storytelling. I think that they've nailed it. And Colin Firth is, I think, fantastic as the killer. No, as the guy convicted of killing his wife. So that's what I've been watching. And then Beverly Hills Housewives have started. Yay! Yeah. So in this episode, I speak with set decorator William DeBiasio. His story is so interesting because it goes to show you that it's never too late in life to start a new career, or maybe even to start in this business. I mean, his desire and his drive to want to work in TV and film led him to start working at a prop house, and then moved up to set dresser, and then a buyer for a while, and eventually a set decorator. He had long stints on the shows The West Wing, Alias, Chuck, Melrose Place, the revamp. He decorated Pretty Little Liars and many more. He currently is on the 5th season of The Rookie, which has its season finale airing this week. William has extensive knowledge of Hollywood history and behind-the-scenes stories of some iconic shows and films like I Love Lucy, Hello Dolly, My Fair Lady, and more. Just so much info, so many good stories in this interview. I never knew he had such a talent. I found him so interesting, and I was just in awe of his Hollywood history stories. I'm honestly a little jealous and thought, damn, maybe this guy should have a podcast because he's a good storyteller and he knows plenty. So I hope you enjoy. Well, I don't think that's true because you're pretty good on social media. You're on it. You're up to date. You're posting all the time.
Well, and I, it's funny with this whole whoever may be buying it, I feel a little like, do I want to step away? But the only reason that I have it is because when I did Pretty Little Liars, someone on Facebook who was a fan of the show and was a friend of mine said to me, "So nice to see you on Facebook and on Twitter." And I said, "Yeah, not on Twitter." And they sent me a link and they said, "Yes, you are." And someone had created an account, lifted the images off my IMDb account, and was trying to reach out to people like Marlene King and Norman Buckley, who were directors and showrunners on the show, to see if they could get information.
Ballsy people.
So I had to create an account to prove that I am indeed William DeBiasio.
I'm actually really impressed. I'm impressed by that person to go through all that. But then, I'm super impressed, you're someone people want to clone. You're someone people want to be.
Well, I did have a moment where I personally went, well, that's kind of flattering. Yeah. They thought, okay, I want to be the set decorator, and that's the way that I can get the information that I need, which meant that the set dressing and the set decorating was catching someone's attention.
So... Did you tell Twitter that's a fake account? Did they get rid of it, or you did? Yeah,
I did. Yeah. But I had to create an account, and people had to start following me so I could prove that I was indeed who I said I was. It was all very bizarre.
I mean, one of my questions is because Pretty Little Liars was such a fan favorite, and so many people like that got involved. Does that influence you, as a decorator? Does that make you oh, I wonder if the fans will like that, or do you keep with
There's a couple things that I have used with Twitter that I use with work. I do an awful lot of shopping on Etsy for artwork and reach out to artists and let them know what I'm working on. And if you're interested in working with us, and I'm happy to pay whatever the fee is, and we will get cleared art. And in return, if I get screen grabs of talent in front of, I will post the images with your link so that if any fan ever wants to purchase your artwork, that's a way for them to get increased revenue.
Beautiful.
And that's been a great way to get original artwork onto the sets that feel like they're character driven, and I don't have to deal with clearance.
Yes. Well, that's always our burden.
Dealing with clearance is saying, "Ha, here you are there.
Yeah.
Sign paperwork."
Yeah. Well, the clearance thing is unbelievable. I just worked on an NBC Peacock show, and I couldn't believe the amount of clearances. And it's progressively gotten worse. I mean, it's we had to clear like barrettes. I had to clear, wardrobe had to clear things, and earrings, and things. If they're not like mass produced, then they have to be cleared, and it's.
We had coffee mugs on a community center set sitting in the background, and whether prop master or whoever, someone decided to pick one up and walk with it. Right. So clearance zoomed in on it. It was a coffee mug from Target with a Greek key pattern on the top of it.
Right.
Like, Greek key pattern's been around a really long time. And I'm sure this was not a one-of-a-kind Target one-off. So
yeah, they're not. That was not.
Yeah, that's
special.
That's how zoomed in on some of the things we get, and I'm just. It so hampers the ability to really do character development. In your set dressing, because that's a filter that that's a really big filter.
How is ABC with it? Was that on the Rookie, the coffee cup? That was on the Rookie.
That was on the Rookie, and we have several filters, shall we say, on the Rookie for clearance, so it makes it doubly hard.
Yeah. On Rutherford Falls, we had our own, the art department had their own clearance person constantly, just the show had it just to constantly go through things, because it was a lot of Native American special stuff and artwork and all that, and that I get.
Yeah.
But when I was like, do I have to get this skirt? And yeah, I had to get it cleared. It is hindering, and it is, time and money, and sometimes, unfortunately, we don't have the time to go through that process. And then it does that's why it's hindering us. We don't have time to I just want to use this coffee cup from Target because it took me 2 seconds to go and pick that out and be done.
Because there were 6 of them, and I wanted to look like they had some coffee mugs in the community center.
Well, we could go on about clearances, but let's talk about happy things.
Yes.
I have to say, I know you in a sense that we've met and we've talked, in conversation, but I don't know you. So right. I always love to hear, how did you get into this? Because you've got a fantastic resume of shows that you have worked on. So I'm dying to hear how you got into this.
Okay. The William getting into set decorating is his midlife crisis. What do I want to do with the second half of his life?
Perfect.
I literally was 39, 40, somewhere in there. Mm-hmm. I had done retail for a lot of years. The last 2 major jobs I had in retail was 5 years working for the Bombay Company.
Oh yeah.
And I was involved in their visual merchandising and helped open stores and things like that. And from there went to Calico Corners, which did custom bedding and fabricating and draperies. So in my head, I thought those two jobs had given me a pretty good idea of what a set decorator's job would be.
I mean, I've heard worse.
Little did I know I was really imagining very limited scripts.
I'd like to see that show.
Right, exactly. All just custom window treatments.
Oh my god, exactly.
And so from there, I decided that I wanted to leave retail because I had really seen retail change from a business where you greeted the customer and you said, "Hi, can I help you?" And you tried to upsell them and you walked around the store and you knew the store, to you were just a person in a store.
Right.
And I got a job at Lenny Marvin working on the loading dock.
But how did you know to go to Lenny Marvin? Let me ask you that.
A friend of mine, I was dating someone who had a friend who was a director, and we had him over for dinner, and I told him that this is what I wanted to do, and he said I would get a job where the decorators shop.
Smart guy.
And it was literally one of those moments where it was like, wow, talk about bringing it down to the lowest common denominator of, you want to work with these people, go where they go shopping.
Go where they go, yeah.
And so
that's a great path. I mean, that's a key path that's a good tip that you're giving away there. Probably not as easy now because some of them are union. Some of the prop houses are union, but
that's
still.
Correct. And that was the beginning of me starting to understand what all this meant, because I was literally someone who was in a retail world who was now saying, okay, this is an industry I want to become involved in, and know nothing other than the fact that I recognized the title of set decorator on credits and realized that they had picked those things out. And the truth of Nerdy William is, I'm a huge Lucille Ball fan, a huge I Love Lucy fan. And there's an episode in I Love Lucy where Lucy and Ethel go to pick up a sofa that is a sectional, and they pick it up and it flips into the middle. And that was a moment where I realized that set decorating and set dressing absolutely worked hand in hand with the talent who created that moment.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we're the character. We set the character,
And so those were the little things sitting in my head that went, yeah, I want to do that.
Yeah.
And so I actually I don't know how I got a list of prop houses, but I lived not too far from PSW when they were off of Highland.
Cherokee?
Yes, in that area.
Yeah.
And I went in and bought a 411 book from Gene Kane.
Yeah. Gene Kane, the saving grace of the SDSA.
And applied for a job there, and Gene said that I didn't have enough talent. And went to Hand Prop Room and interviewed there, and they weren't interested in working with me. And went to Lenny Marvin, and Keith was willing to interview me.
Nice.
And he got what I was trying to do. And he said, we don't really have a position in the sales department, but there may be at some point. But there is a position in the loading dock, and if you want a job, you have it. And that was how I got my foot in the door.
That's kind of amazing, because it is hard to get your foot in the door when you have no experience. And someone has to see in you the want and the fire and like, look, I'm here and I'm willing.
That's right.
Like, let me try. And I think that's a lot of it. Like when you or I hire like a PA, like when you're looking for like a coordinator or something, you're kind of looking for like, do you have it? Are you gonna wake up thinking about drapes or like? Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, that's fantastic. That's a great tip, really.
Yeah. That was my foot in the door, and from there I went to 20th Century Props.
Oh.
Because someone I knew said that they were looking for a salesperson. My sense was, after I interviewed there, or they had told me about it, it seemed to me that it seemed like a better place where once I understood the inventory, I could really be a salesperson,
Right.
or the decorators, and walk them around and go, here are the chairs, here are blah, 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 blah,
Right.
blah, blah. And that's exactly what I did, because Harvey and Mandy really wanted to have that sense of salespeople who had regular customers who came in, who did business with them.
Right.
That's how they ran their business.
But that relationship, as we know, the relationship with any vendor is very important, and you always go to the same people, kind of when you trust them. So yeah, that's a great business model.
And to this day, I still go to Full Library and make sure that Mandy knows that I was there.
Yes. Yeah, God forbid you go in and you don't show her that you had been there. Then she's mad that you didn't get to say hi, which is so sweet. Right. So sweet.
Yes. Because equally she gave me the leg up at 20th Century and said, yes, I'll hire you.
Right. I loved 20th Century. I was only decorating at the tail end before that prop house went down, but it was a massive amount of beautiful, a lot of rattan, but a beautiful furnishings and huge light fixtures, and this prop house would just go on and on. And I'm wondering too, since you had some background with furniture, was it then like, well, you need to know like this type of furniture, like was there any schooling in that, or did you already come in with that sense of like history of furniture? And
well, it's funny. Not only it's the love of history of furniture, but also the love of the industry.
Right.
So early on, like at Lenny, I realized, or I think it was Keith who let me know, that there were a few things in Lenny Marvin that Lenny himself had purchased on auction when other prop houses were closing. And they had some of the pieces from Hello, Dolly when the Fox lot went down.
They did? What was it?
And they still have them.
What is it?
They're
is it the Stagecoach?
No, in Horace Vandegelder's Hay and Feed,
right?
You see it behind Streisand when she's talking to Barnaby and the other guy, looking down where the chicken feed is or whatever the heck it is, and it's a cabinet that holds grain.
Grain.
It's like a glass front. It's a wooden cabinet with glass fronts, and they open out. And you would have scooped out different types of grain, and you see it there on the left-hand side of Vandegelder's, and then there's a rack on top of it that they also have.
Wow!
And then there's also a set of beer taps in their beer tap collection from the Harmonia Garden set that you see when. Horace and Barnaby are having like a runaround in the whole scene when there's a scene at a bar and you see them right by the beer taps, and they're all handmade glass. The whole thing is completely handmade.
Those I haven't rented, but I think that feed thing I have rented, which is miraculous in the sense that it hasn't fallen apart in all of these years of all of these shows renting it. It's a testimony to good furniture making, but also, well-aware set dressers who take care of it when loading it in and off of the trucks. I love that. I actually thought that some of the Golden Girl stuff was a 20th Century, but I'm probably wrong.
Well, Harvey did provide the... I don't know.
Did they buy it there? Was that the
Horace? It was Edward Stevenson, who was the production designer.
And did they buy it from
Tara's father, and that's where the rattan came from.
From 20th Century. I knew there was some sort of connection. Yeah.
Harvey did provide the rattan to Edward Stevenson, who was the production designer for the Golden Girls.
Oh, so fantastic!
Right? I love the history.
I love it.
And when I did Pretty Little Liars, it was a Warner Brothers show, and I had an all-you-could-eat at Warner Brothers. And because it was a show on, ABC Family with a very limited budget, the truth is I only had $15,000 an episode to do that show.
What?
And that's it. I I had 15 grand to do that show.
Was that on the Warner Brothers backlot, or were you at the lot?
I was at Warner Brothers.
You were at
7 years at Warner Brothers. We left the lot maybe 5 times.
That's kind of a dream for a lot of set decorators.
It was like 1940 set decorating. I showed up every day. I had stage 6, 7, and 8.
Yeah.
And anytime we were on the back lot, that's when we were in Rosewood.
Right.
Which is the fictitious town that the show took place in. If we were somewhere running through the woods, we were in the jungle.
Right.
One of our characters' houses is still back there. You know, it was a dream job.
Yeah. And plus it was fun. And it was a bit of, you know, the mystery of it, and like where is this going to go now? And it's like kind of silly, but like good.
and because the show didn't have a lot of money, early on, the supervising producer, the actual producer, made sure that the showrunner and I were all on the same page, and that I would deliver the very best sets for them. But everything was based on the fact that I couldn't spend more than this much money,
right.
Which meant I had to be very creative about the pieces that I took out of Warner Brothers, because I had an all-you-can-eat.
Right.
Which meant, because the show did flashbacks a lot, if I found, and again, it was really the symbiotic work with the production, I would find out from them, it's like, oh yes, this character's house is going to come back several times.
Right.
So that meant, okay, the bulk of that world needs to come out of the prop house, because then it went into storage.
Right.
Because at a moment's notice, I'd get a script and we'd be back in.
Yeah, you don't want to give back the dressing because someone else will rent it. And
That's
by
right.
all you can eat, it's like a flat deal where, I always try to get a flat deal because I don't know how to budget smalls, really. Or like when you need a lot of smalls and you're like, I don't know. So let's say you're on a half-hour comedy or 1 hour. Like I would give, I think it's now up to like $5,000 an episode-ish, around there, whatever you can bargain or get, you feel fair to everyone. And then you can rent as much as you want, or they cap it at a certain amount so you don't go crazy. Because some decorators go crazy and they've ruined it for us. Which, hey, it's not really the decorator sometimes. It's the show.
No,
it's the show.
The Rookie is one of those shows. I use Warner Brothers. We film at Warner Brothers, and we've had several times where it's gotten very close to or over the cap, because our showrunner likes our sets to be very layered.
Yeah. I mean, and then there's a lot of sets. What are you going to do? Like, you know, you just try to be fair and you try to knock it back the next episode, or, you know. And I think, you know, Robert Greenfield and Beverly Hadley, who run Warner Brothers and Uni, that's basically where I would do deals. They know we're not like crazy people and trying to like hoard smalls and stuff, but you know, some sets are hoarder sets, and you have to take a whole shelf out of the prop house.
Well, and it's inevitably those sets where you hear the producer going, okay, this is going to be really affordable set because we're filming it on the back lot at Warner Brothers, and it's an antique store.
Yeah, that's not.
Like, yeah, now it's costing me 3 times as much to bring in everything and make sure it's all cleared.
Yeah. I always suggest lamp store. When they want, I owe it lamp stores, because like, you get some lighting and it's not as expensive. Yeah. I always do lamp store. The one thing about Pretty Little Liars, did they discuss decorating any clues into the set during the season, or did they want you to stay away from things like that?
It's funny you say that. They didn't have any. I'm trying to.
Or Easter eggs.
I can't think of any specific clues that they had us plant into the sets.
Mm-hmm.
But my crew, whom I've worked with for many, many years, since I was a set dresser, quite honestly.
That's a great thing.
You know, get bored. And so to keep themselves occupied, and because the character A was the central character of the show, they and crew members and talent all decided to create A's, literally the letter A,
right,
in different materials, so it would get hidden into a set and it just blended into the set, just for their own personal dollies. So literally we had A's that looked like indoor-outdoor carpet. We had A's that looked like they were made out of washers. We had A's that were made out of drumsticks. We had A's that were made out of popsicle sticks.
And did fans catch on?
Well, then ABC Family heard about this and decided to do a contest with the fans to see if they could find the A's in the episodes.
That's fantastic.
And then they had the fans sending in photographs of where they had seen things out in life that looked like an A.
That's fantastic.
And then they came to us and they wanted photographs of where the A's were hidden in the sets. And we were like, well, we didn't really photograph it specifically to go, okay, there's the hair A, there's the drumstick A. But it turned into a whole thing, and it was outside my lead man's office. There was literally a 9-foot by 6-foot wall completely covered in different A's.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic that they didn't get mad, in a sense, of doing this thing that
could have gone terribly wrong.
Could have backfired pretty easily.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know if any of the characters' name begins with A or whatever. Like, it could have.
Allison.
Well, so it could have gone wrong, I think.
Yeah. But yes, so but no, they didn't have us plant any seeds into the episodes.
Wow. Did you have a favorite character to decorate for on that show?
I wouldn't say I had a favorite character to decorate for. Well, Spencer's world constantly evolved, so her bedroom changed over time. Shauna Aronson was the decorator for the first six or 8 episodes, and then I took over. So she had done the main characters' bedrooms, which you saw in every episode, and people would see them on the tours, and I'd be like, and this is not my work.
Yeah. That always. But as you're saying, as it evolves, and you were with the show for, I don't know how many episodes you did, like a ton. Like you did like 6 years.
I did 6.5 years.
6 years, yeah. So it is yours in a sense. It evolves, and like you're saying, and
absolutely,
yeah.
But then
But in the beginning,
early on, it became we would have flashbacks in their bedroom, so that it was always chronicling how the room was, because we had a flashback to blah, blah, blah. And it was like, okay, the bulletin board has to look like this now. And again, that was, and her bookcase constantly changed. So it was always holding on to little worlds of Spencer's bedroom by episode, so that we could always go back to it.
Which is it's so important. I mean, photographing from the onset, or having the swing gang really be in charge of like, this is going to come back. Like, we need to photo this, and it's really an intricate part of the job. The flashback. I hate flashbacks.
And having a really good crew who pays attention to it, and someone who's going to be committed to, I'm going to handle this.
Yeah, so, definitely.
And knock on wood, I have a really great crew.
There's also the problem of having space to keep all this.
There is that also.
Yeah, because a lot of times you just run out of room, and then your gold room, which is like the swing gang storage room, starts to expand outside of the world.
We had outside storage worlds literally. To hold on to everything.
I have never shot at Warner Brothers besides a couple things in the back lot, and I think it's one of the greatest lots. I think it's just such a I always think of that movie Best Friends with Goldie Hawn and Burt Reynolds, because I know that they filmed it there, and you see the water tower and everything, and I just think it's one of the best like movie like lots, and I'm always bummed that I've never shot there. And you have the prop house right there, like it's so great.
I will say, as a set decorator, even as a set dresser, because it goes back to when I was a set dresser for Ellen Totleben doing West Wing, and I worked for her. The bulk of my career has really been at Warner Brothers.
Isn't that crazy?
I spent 7 years doing Pretty Little Liars there. We did 4 years of The Rookie there. I did Famous in Love, which was a show that was after Pretty Little Liars with the same production company.
Mm-hmm.
I did Chuck there.
Oh wow, yeah. You have been there.
Literally, I had an office in Warner Village and was the first person to have the office, the first person to actually occupy the space. Because I always think about that, because the show is leaving Warner Brothers and going to Paramount. And I moved into a new world in the Maurice Chevalier building, and it's like I stepped into it and I just looked at it and was like, okay, this building's been here since 1920 something.
I do love Paramount too. I love the Paramount lot.
What was this? Whose office was this? Yeah. You know, all of those things.
Yeah.
But you're correct. Warner Brothers has the most. It has the prop house. It has the mill. It has the metal shop. It has the design shop. It has the paint department. It has all of the facilities still intact.
Yeah, which
makes our job so much easier.
Yeah, everything's right there, which is what it should be. And
once you step outside the 118 acres, it's like there's a time warp of traffic and everything, and it's like, oh, this is why it takes so long for everything.
Yeah. I do like one of the funny things about Paramount or some of the other lots is that the little alleys between the stages are so small that like our 5 tons or 10 tons, if you have it, can't really, like, it's miraculous that any of the trucking gets through these. And it's a real problem, like when you're shooting and you got to pick up and drop off for us, and like that's one of, I don't know how that is at Warner Brothers, but I know at Paramount it's kind of a joke at this point.
I think Warner Brothers was at the beginning of the change to actual trucks. So for the most part, trucks seem to be able to move around a lot, and you can still have people parking. And I know Paramount's not that way at all.
I do know, you have to take a certain little route from the entrance to get to the prop house, and it always would pass that Pretty Little Liars stage right there on the right, and I always see like, oh, there they are in there, and I always try to peek into other people's stages.
I do the same thing.
Yeah, I always want to see what's going on. What's that wall? What's going on in there? But So why is The Rookie moving?
Because Warner Brothers has the Lakers project.
Oh, Winning Time?
Okay, I don't know what the name of it is, but it's taking up, I believe, 9 sound stages. And they reached out to our show back in, this is what I was told, they reached out back to our show back in October and November to sign the lease for the next season, and they didn't know if the show was picked up yet, and they just declined to sign the contract. And then they said, we need stages 7 and 8 for our shows.
Wow. There's a shortage of stages at this point. Yeah. There really is.
We're taking over the This Is Us stages at Paramount.
Yeah. So I was on 17 and, I was right there for Veep, so I know that world very well. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
And as I said, I've spent most of my career at Warner, so it's a bit bittersweet for me. But I'm embracing the RKO Paramount Lucy connection.
Yes.
And we're actually filming on the soundstage where the Lucy show was filmed on.
I do love that Paramount, because not every lot does that. Warner Brothers does it where they have a plaque on each soundstage that tells you Fox has it too, of some of the larger shows or more memorable shows that have shot on those sound stages. I love that. I love that.
I do too. because it's that moment when you step onto the stage after you've read it, and it's like, wow, Casablanca was filmed on this stage, or Anti-Name was filmed on this stage, or The Music Man, or West Side Story, or
It's funny you're a Lucy fan. I had a moment recently watching that wonderful movie, Being the Ricardos, which I think looked fantastic. And then I watched the documentary Lucy and Desi that was really good. But I feel like we might be the last people who give a shit about Lucy. Like, I don't know how she's still so popular. I guess it's mind-boggling to me in a sense. Like, I understand and I respect and I love the fact how strong of a woman she was and a presence in Hollywood and what she did for the industry. But it's really mind-boggling to me that projects are still being made about her, I guess.
I equally, and truthfully, if I could turn my camera and show you the amount of books sitting right over here
about Lucy
literally, I own a ridiculous amount of information about the woman. So on both of those projects, which I've seen, one, the movie I so wanted and told Ellen I was so jealous that she had gotten the project. But was it so in awe of what she did?
Yeah, beautiful
It was
work.
beautiful.
Yes.
Actually, just watched the Set Decor interview with David Smith, production designer, and Ellen Brill, John Hutman, and Ellen Brill's set decorator, and it was a great interview. So people should go see that.
Yeah. Well, Set Decor. I mean, I love Karen. They do such great work. I love it.
But it's what I find interesting also is that CBS still believes in the product of I Love Lucy to the point that they're spending the money to colorize the episodes so that people have a choice of seeing it in color or in black and white, because that's one of the things that, what I understand, the youth of our world don't really appreciate the beauty of and the artistry of a black and white. So to take it and transfer it into color allows the audience, the younger generation, to go, okay, I'm willing to sit down for a half hour and watch this, because it doesn't feel like it's ancient history.
Right. I think that too is like how I guess I worry about a lot of it, of like the news cycle and like, is that really relevant anymore? Like when I talk to people about, I love the 70s as like the film genre of like really grittiness and beautiful filming. And I think like, I hope they're teaching, I hope that's still relevant. Like I hope they haven't just skipped to the 90s. Like I just hope that the film and TV history isn't getting lost with such short attention spans that people have now.
And that's true. That's true, because, just the fact that someone like a Debbie Reynolds had, all of those costumes, and somehow the Academy didn't see the relevance of it and say, oh yeah, that's a really good idea, and move with it.
Yeah.
And then she ends up, auctioning a good portion of them off. It's like, really? You're the Academy?
Yeah.
And there are things like Streisand's dress from Hello, Dolly, costumes from Audrey Hepburn in My Fair Lady, Dorothy's dress, which just got found. It was in a shoebox somewhere, right? Yeah. That I fear that mostly because I think I can relate to you. It influenced me. Did I?
And so when people walk on a stage and see credits, I hope they know what those films are, because I know plenty of times if I didn't know what a film was, I thought, well, if it was that important to put on this plaque, I should probably check that out. That's just me. That's me and my passion. But I hope, because it's influence,
absolutely,
absolutely. And I think it drives our passion. I mean, you loved it so much you were working on a loading dock. I mean, that's the passion there. You're true blood. Like,
well, but I will also say the goal was actually always to get to this point.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I really like the fact that I've done every job.
Yes, I always emphasize that completely. Like, doing every job only lends for you being a better whatever.
That's right.
The understanding of the other positions. So you loved being a buyer too at some, I mean, you were a buyer for a long time.
I was a buyer I was a buyer for quite a while, but yeah I was the coordinator buyer on Alias for 5 years.
I know. I loved that show.
Great show.
It was so good.
Great show. It was such a fun show. And again, one of those shows that was filmed it was the first show to use the Disney lot and to physically use the Disney lot. We actually filmed in what was Walt Disney's office. Oh, wow. Yeah. It was, at that point in time, it wasn't being, they've restored it back to his office. And for private tours, they show it.
Isn't that funny?
But at that point in time, it was just a room in the building that used to be Walt Disney's office. So they allowed us to use it. Wow. But it was like stepping into hallowed ground.
Right.
It was like, I was literally like the person who had the genius to create Mary Poppins. This was his office.
I know.
The person who created, and your mind just starts reeling once you go down the rabbit hole of.
Yes, absolutely.
But
I love Disney.
We filmed in all the tunnels underneath the buildings because everything's all connected at Disney. And underneath, because when all of the animation was being made, so it could go from the building where the drawings were done to ink and paint where it was actually colorized, it would travel underground.
He's really into tunnels because, like the world and Disneyland, they all have tunnels too. Genius.
Everything you could connect it all. And they like if you watch the episodes, anytime Jennifer or whoever is running through some kind of tunnel, 9 times out of 10, it's one of the tunnels underneath the buildings at Disney.
Oh my God, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
It was a fun, we were the first show to actually use the lot and actually film. We filmed in the ABC building. We filmed in the lobby. We filmed in the elevators. We filmed in the commissary.
Because that lot's not that big. That it doesn't have a back lot, right? It doesn't have like a New York street or like it doesn't, right?
It had the back half of stages. I think there's 7 and 8. The 2 newest stages. There was a facade on the outside of one of the stages
that you could use,
left over from when Walt was there or something like that. I think it's all since gone, but we used that also. It's fun because it's also a window of history. Yeah. Because like all that facade is gone now.
Yeah.
So when you watch the episode, you're like, oh yeah, they're evil Francie's. Francie's diner or restaurant, or coffee house, whatever it was there. Yeah.
Oh wow. I feel like that show escaped me when it was on, of me not knowing yet Disney or anything. Like I didn't know all the lots or anything. So that's fantastic to hear. Like, oh, it really was mostly all there.
There's scenes whenever Jennifer and Michael Vartan were having the handoff of this is your project. Here's your mission kind of thing. One of the cost saving things that it was because it was always they would come up with these outrageous locations for literally Jennifer to sit there and Vaughn to say, okay, you're going to Paris, blah blah blah.
Right.
Cut to there's a plane and a cryon, Rio, and we're somewhere and you make believe you're in Rio. So the producer would come to the decorator and say, how much is it going to cost to do blah blah blah?
Right.
and she would say, and inevitably it would turn into them walking through a park in the middle of the night with a bench and a street lamp.
Right.
which was always on the back lot, which was always on the lot at Warner Brothers. At Disney.
But yeah. I mean, you don't need that. You might as well save it for the big explosion and everything.
That's
like,
right.
we get
That's
it.
right. But it was those moments where they would go, what's it going to cost?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, we don't need a restaurant. We can give you a park bench and a street lamp and there.
Reality sets in. We're not going to do what the writers wrote one sentence and it cost $1 million. Oh, okay. That's reality. I don't rewrite it, but I can just tell you how much it's going to cost.
One of those early, as the buyer, one of those early lessons for me in kind of budgeting and communicating with producers. This is what it's going to cost to do this, and that sense of there's only so much money, and why piss this money away on this little set where you literally tell the same story with a bench and a street lamp, as opposed to spending $30,000 in a restaurant. Yeah,
and you need that money somewhere else, or another department might need it. Maybe the wardrobe was more expensive. They got to move it all around too. It's the game of it, but. I love that show. I bet they remake that.
I've often been surprised because she ended up having a little girl, and it could literally be, little girl is now takes over where mom started, and Jennifer kind of appears in a couple, episodes.
Do you want me to cut this? I should probably cut this out because you could probably sell that idea. I think you're. I think there's your retirement money. I think you just write the sequel to Alias. I think that's a fantastic idea.
I'm sure Victor Garber would be thrilled.
Oh, right? I don't know that. Maybe recap. Maybe he died somewhere. I don't know. Another one that you did that I loved was the remake of Melrose Place. I loved Melrose Place. I watched every episode of the original. I was in. It was so silly and stupid, but I loved it.
I knew nothing of the original show. I never watched it.
What?
But I had a set dresser who worked on the original show.
Oh, that helps. That always helps.
That helped. It was an interesting. That was an interesting experience.
I'm sure. I mean, I'm romanticizing it. Like when I moved here, I was like trying to find that little street that's Melrose Place, and super bummed that there wasn't an apartment building there because it's just really a little side street.
It's just a little side street. I used to walk by it when I used to go to yoga.
Yeah. Well, they can't all be fun.
It was. Let me say, it was fun in that we had the courtyard.
Mm-hmm.
We filmed at Calvert Studios.
I don't know where that is.
Which is like in Van Nuys, literally on Calvert Street.
Ooh.
And it was a warehouse where there was a TV show. I want to say the name of the show was Boomtown. But I could be wrong, but I believe that was the name of the show. And that show was a mid-century show, and it had a pool. So we went there, and they used it because it was the same pool, and they just built the set around the pool, though the pool's a different orientation than the original show.
Yeah.
So that's why we went. That's why we ended up going there. And then we had one set off of the main courtyard, and then in another stage, I think I had a small hospital, and I had 2 apartments that had to be every single apartment. So for me, it was really fun because all the different people lived in all the different apartments, but I only had really 2 apartments, and it was constantly redecorating. You had to redress them all? Oh. Well, and as the characters appeared in the storyline, because we only did 12 episodes.
Yeah.
It was literally completely reinventing the same space. So you didn't believe you were in the same space, and you believed that you were in Laura Layton's apartment or Ashley's apartment or Augie's apartment.
I didn't realize you were dressed. I mean, it makes sense. because of space and building sets and everything, and in an apartment building they would be this, logically it's the same apartment, just different.
But it was the odd difference where they would take the 1 bedroom apartment and turn it into a studio apartment, so it felt like people were living in all the different versions of apartments that would be in a complex.
Who could afford what? Yeah.
So that was a fun exercise.
That's not fun. Don't lie. That is redressing things. I'm going to be on something and they're like, oh, so it's this one space and then it'll be the conference room and this and this. And I was like, oh, that sucks. I got to redress this thing 3 times an episode. Like,
it was for me, see, because we only really did the show and got everything up and running.
Right.
And then they canceled it.
Right.
So, which was an interesting exercise because CBS said to producers, this show had a huge international following and they expected it to have a 5-year run and they wanted me to buy everything.
Nice.
So equally, as stressful as that was at times, as blah, blah, blah's a character's apartment would appear, and it's like, okay, does that character get a 1 bedroom, a 2 bedroom, a studio? What are we doing? How many windows do I have? How much space do I have? Is it a futon in the middle of one room?
Right.
I was buying everything, and everything had to be custom made, and even though the filter of what's the least expensive way to do this was always what I use, still cost a buttload of money.
Right.
So it was really kind of fun to do. I ended up getting my wrist slapped, but and then literally sadly, they canceled it, and it was all put into a parking lot and sold in Van Nuys. And for years, we have always been like, and it was sold in a parking lot.
Yeah.
Because, I've worked with the same people. I still work with the same people who did that show.
Right.
And every once in a while, as you know, you do things that have that mental reference.
Yes. Oh, yeah. You're constantly referencing things like, oh, yeah, well, let's just go reset their lab on bones. Like, it's like a joke for us. Like, and there is that thing like, oh, if I just had that mirror.
Right?
If I just had that mirror from if I just had that, it would work perfectly here. Where is that? Yeah, it was auctioned off. I have no idea. So you got a good reference for that. Sad.
And we got the visual too.
Yeah. And my visual is half the shit's melting because it's so hot in Van Nuys. Probably.
Yeah, absolutely. Because it was probably August.
Yeah, it's not like it was like a nice day for a sale.
It's probably still there, seared to the asphalt.
Yes, people were melting, trying to bid out on a mirror over there. I also really loved your work on What If.
Thank you.
That was fun. I thought maybe that would come back, but I guess not. I don't know.
Well, yeah.
In some version, I thought it would come back.
That was the idea. The premise was that if you took the question, what if, and you applied it to something, it would continue to go on.
Yeah.
But
Netflix said no.
Netflix decided no.
If not, they said if not.
Yeah, not so much.
Not so much.
It was great fun to do. The sets were really fun to do. Renee was beyond charming.
Oh, fantastic.
She was beyond charming. She loved the space, and her kind of docent, I don't remember his name or his character's name, but he was like, Renee, this is the set decorator, and blah, 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 dragged me over.
Oh,
and
fantastic.
Had a little back and forth with her, and it was right after she had done Judy.
Oh, fantastic.
So I decided to use that as the conversation of, what was that experience like? And it was before she had won the Oscar for it.
Oh, it's such a good movie.
Such a good movie.
Yeah.
And such a great performance. But she was charming. The show was fun to do. Her penthouse, we filmed at Sunset Gower.
Nice. Love that lot.
Which for me was fun because when I saw Being the Ricardos, there were several places where I went, oh, I know where they are. They're at Sunset Gower.
Yeah.
And I loved, and again, it was that reference and that connection
I love
that I love about our industry.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, it's kind of like you're taking yourself out of the moment to try to figure it out, but it's still a little game. It's still a little game. I do it all the time with like locations. I'm like, oh, I shot there. I shot that shit. Yeah. But yeah, I really thought that show was going to go on, but I thought it had a great look. It had a fun story. It was interesting, and she was great. I mean, I don't know. I'm not an executive.
It was. I really enjoyed the boys' apartment, their space that they lived in. There, I got to use a Pretty Little Liars fan who lives in Maine, who does custom pillows. I had him make pillows for the boys' apartment.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. I love that.
I love where you can tie people, and for him, then he got to, I got to show the pictures, and he got the retweet and blah blah blah.
I do love. I mean, I use Etsy a lot too for artwork. I think it's a fantastic research to give people exposure, like you said, and two, like when you find someone to be able to use them again, or. Like, I did a show, Love, and it was a lot of, like, LA and some mid-century, and I bought a lot of pieces off of Etsy, and people would then ask me, where's this piece from? And then you can connect people for business. Like, I think that's, and I always, like, I always drop everything to try to answer those emails, because I want to give those people credit and, business, because that's why we're asking them to trust us with their artwork. I think that's one of the main reasons.
And you never know when those connections are going to appear.
Yeah.
I received a manila envelope in the mail before Christmas.
Oh, geez.
From a fan.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. They got your address?
In Vienna.
What? How did they get your address?
Well, that was the scary part of, you realize how small the world it is with tap, tap, tap. But yes, it was a manila envelope sent to my my P.O. box, because I don't have mail at my home.
Smart.
And,
well, the rate you're going, being doubled on Twitter and packages, you better get a P.O. box.
And it was screen grabs from Chuck. He was a huge fan of Chuck and wanted my autograph.
Oh my God, you're an international superstar.
But I laughed because I was like, okay, so at this rate, the fans from Pretty Little Liars and Rookie will be getting, they'll be coming around like when I'm 85 or 90.
They'll be wanting an autograph on those screenshots. Hello. You got the big writing at that point. Damn. I don't know anyone who's been asked for their autograph on a set picture.
I was mildly freaked out.
Yeah, but flattered, I'm sure.
And waited and finally responded after I reached out to Helena Swallow, who took over the show after I left. And asked her, and it was like, so did you happen to get? She's like, yes, I got the same thing.
Oh, wow. But how did they get your addresses? I guess you don't know.
The ability on the tap, tap, tap. I don't
know.
You
it's all on there.
On certain places, and you do a Google search of people, then I guess you can find crap out.
It's true. It's true. Don't find me. I'm available on email, people. Don't.
Yeah, well, that's kind of how I felt. But it was flattering. It was a little weird. But one of the pictures that he sent was a screen grab of Zach at a restaurant that I did on Brownstone Street at Warner Brothers. Mm-hmm. And the menus were DiBiasio's Italian
Oh.
restaurant. So I have a screen grab of Chuck.
It worked
Zach
out.
holding a menu with my name on it.
Oh my God, that worked out. But you should have the menu. Someone should have given you the menu. The prop master should have given you the menu.
No, I didn't get the menu. I have one of the decals that went on the menu. Now I have a photograph of the menu, but not the menu. It's probably in Warner Brothers somewhere.
Well, that's good and bad, but that's flattering and scary.
Yeah.
Again.
And it also it shows you how small the world is, and equally reinforces that our work affects people.
Yeah, and
they want to be in contact with them.
I know that you are generous in, giving things away, especially now working on The Rookie and having that interaction with the fans. It's great. It's great. When people are interested in our work and we want to share it, it really is great. It's a great tool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do love it. And I think, too, one of the things that I know that we run into is you can't show things until they've aired. A lot of times.
and I take that very seriously.
Yeah.
And then I have moments where I dress a set, and then the next morning I wake up and I see someone has done a video and they're showing it on the location all at night, and I'm like, okay, if they want to show the video. And
well, I agree with you, because on the show Veep, our showrunner was really into social media and really interactive. And it's the same thing where we sign an NDA, you can't show this stuff until it airs or whatever, especially social media. But again, he was sitting there like a Video Village showing the world, and I guess it was okay for him, but I wasn't about to start doing it because I was like, well, they'll sue me. They might not sue him. I guess he's generating buzz about the show and they don't care about my little world, but it does. No, it's not the best.
We did a two-parter episode that introduced new characters on The Rookie that is a potential spin-off of a new show.
Oh, nice.
I did a kitchen, living room, and dining room, and you barely saw the living room for reasons that we won't go into. They shared footage of the dining room. So I decided, since they can show the dining room, I can show the room that they're never going to see.
Well, I think that's fine. I think that's fine, right?
Because that was the hardest, again, as a decorator.
Yeah.
That was the most challenging because it was an African-American couple.
Right.
It was an African-American man who was into music, and I had to create a world that I didn't want to feel like was a stereotype of an African-American's home.
Right.
And a lot of thought and process went into what was selected to put into this world, because if it goes to series, this world will get seen again.
It will exist, yeah.
So, again, as a decorator, as a white boy, it was like, our job is to do due diligence and do all characters the appropriate visuals to support who they are. Yeah. And make sure that nothing feels caricature-ish.
Right. It's not, And even if it's like a baby's room, or you never want to hit people over the head with it, but the character needs to be there when the actor isn't, or dialogue isn't said. So it really, it's up to us to give those visual clues and personality in there. But I think if they didn't show it and you show it, I think it's fine. I mean, they're not. If it's not going to be shown, it's just a set that you're showing. I think that's fine.
So far, no one's yelled at me or slapped my wrist, and for the most part, I only share pictures usually after they air.
Yeah.
so that, and what I really like to show is the before after.
Yes. Yes.
Because sometimes it really is, it is miraculous what we pull off in the window of time that we have to execute what we need to do.
I saw one of the sets that you did was this season, train car of it looked like Amazon. It looked like the Amazon train had been like people had stolen and emptied it.
It was the only times in the history of the show they did a ripped from the headlines kind of story, because that actually happened.
And I actually thought I was looking at the picture of what actually happened. So bravo. I was like, oh, that's the picture from the LA Times, and I was like, oh no, there's the guy. That's the set.
The actual location, we reached out to the actual location, and they were like, yeah, we're not really too proud of this. We're not interested in playing with you.
So what the thing is that basically Amazon return boxes that are then supposedly shipped back to Amazon sit in these containers for God knows how long, because it costs Amazon too much money to actually return it. It's a loss for them. So it's a bummer for anyone who thinks they're doing a good thing by just returning a product.
That's right.
I think I hope I'm right. It was like homeless people and such or elements were breaking into these containers.
I believe so.
And sifting through stuff, which, hey, it's not going anywhere. Somebody might as well use it. I say go for it, or at least Amazon should be donating this shit. But they left a tremendous amount of trash and just mayhem out.
That's right.
And the set that you had to produce must have been tons and tons of cardboard and pieces, or did you just have your Amazon box from your shows?
We as a department were really concerned about how much money it was going to cost in purchasing cardboard and styrofoam and plastic to create the visual.
Right.
So we bought Gaylords and put them on all of the sound stages with notes, and put a note, production sent a note out to the shooting company and said, we want every Amazon box that you have, any package, any manila envelope, whatever.
Right.
And I did not have to buy anything to create that visual. That was all rubbish left over from the shooting company. So it got filmed, and then a dumpster came, and it all got thrown into a dumpster. We needed, in reference, there was a washing machine in one of the research pictures that the production designer shared.
Mm-hmm.
So we went on Craigslist and bought it for $100.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was all the garbage from the shooting company for 1 7-day period.
Wow. That's sad.
Right?
But a good thing, but at least you got to reuse it. At least you didn't have to buy more cardboard. So at least you got to reuse it.
And you and I both know that would have turned that set into something that easily could have cost $40,000.
Yeah. I have, especially since COVID, I have Amazon and any other shipment usually to my home, because if it goes to the lot, it has to go through like heavy COVID. It was like, oh, they would wait a day or whatever before they gave it to you, and we can't wait a day. So the amount of cardboard that I have sometimes in my trash is embarrassing. And sometimes I'll just load it in my car and take it to the lot so that my neighbors don't think I'm an asshole. But, bravo for reusing all of that and having the idea to do that, because that was you guys do some massive sets on Rookie. I mean, there's some.
We do some big sets.
Yeah. How long is your shooting? Is it 8 days or an episode?
It's supposed to be 9 days. Then it was 8 days with a double up day. Then COVID happened, and then that went away, and then we went into a window when we were showing up at a lot of houses, and they literally were just at the front doors.
Right.
We went through an entire season where no one really went into the house.
Yeah.
Which made life a little easier for us because it was just cleaning up the stuff on the outside.
Yeah.
And now we're back going into houses, but if there is a large sweep of the house, the producers have movers do it.
Yeah. Sometimes we have that too, depending on.
So COVID has made some of our life a little bit easier, and a lot of the sets are within walking distance to LA Center, which is our home base, which is our exterior. Lobby for our police station.
The exterior for that is used so many times. It's basically known a lot as our like Mad Men building where Mad Men was done, but it's a great kind of mid-century, would you say? It was the 76 headquarters, the gas company at 76, right? I think I'm correct.
I think it was 76. Do you know the story of the building?
I don't. I mean, I know I've shot there a bunch, and that's pretty much the extent, and I know it was the 76 headquarters.
76, the corporation was moving. And it was an entirely designed, everything inside it was designed in 1950, whatever. I think it's a Samuel Beckett building.
It's beautiful.
And they reached out to a location manager and said, do you know any movies that want to film an explosion? Because we're going to demolish this building. And the location manager went into it and saw it for what it was, and made a point of rallying whoever needed to be, and it morphed into LA Center Studios, which kept it going.
Bravo to that guy, because
it came this close to being, are you going to need to implode a building? And sure, we'll let you film our implosion.
It's so versatile in doing police stations, hospital wings. The exterior is beautiful. It's used a lot as an FBI. The main lobby is like this gorgeous marble granite, like beautiful. It's been in so many things. It's
the pilot for Chuck.
Oh, see, you've used it. I think I've been there on almost every show. I mean, it's a huge staple for television.
I was watching an old episode of Alias recently, and I saw Jennifer and Victor walking down in the parking structure.
See, yeah, it's great. It's super versatile for many different genres. So yeah, God, I didn't know that story. That's fantastic.
Right? It's a lovely our industry actually saving something instead of destroying it.
Yeah, that's rare. Between that and the Amazon boxes, you're striking rich today. Are you given scripts in advance, or is it by like episode-ish? You're not given it like 2 to 3 days.
As soon as production designer gets outlines, I get outlines. They feed me information as soon as it's available. Our episodes get to us quite late.
Yeah. That's normal.
But yeah.
Who is your production designer? I don't have
Zhao is her first name. I'm that's where I'm going to stop because I will not pronounce her last name correctly.
Zhao, I think I know of her. She was an art director for a little while.
She was an art director for Denise Mazzini.
Yes. Yeah. Then I do know her, yes.
She's an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Absolute pleasure.
I've drank with her a couple times.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah. And so you're moving to Paramount. Do you think I think when I see your resume and mine, the parallel of like I like to stay with shows and develop characters, and it seems like you like the same feeling. Is that you're not
I like that opportunity. I like the consistency of finding a team that you feel like you're part of a team.
Yeah.
And everyone and it feels like everyone's pushing the same ball up the same hill.
Yeah.
And I've been very fortunate that has really been my career path for the most part. I've worked with same producers and production designers on several times because it's really good that shorthand is just a wonderful opportunity.
Yes.
Do you remember when we did blah blah blah?
Yeah.
And someone's got photographs of blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And someone's got the copies of the paperwork for it, and it's like, okay, you just find the stuff.
Yeah.
Then you infuse what you need to tell the story and who the characters are. But 1 hour television is a marathon.
Yes.
And I equally have been blessed that I've had shows with longevity and that have had, 18 to 20 to 22 to 24 episodes.
Yeah.
So
it's rare now. It's rare to have that.
The fact that I have it right now is a blessing on network television. Yeah. How many shows really have, 18 to 24 episodes?
Not many, but under 10, right?
Yeah.
I think.
I consider myself blessed.
Yeah. And it's a good show.
Yeah,
it's good.
It tells a really good story.
Yeah.
The characters have heart. The fans are very invested in the characters.
Fantastic.
It's been a really fun balance in telling police stories and telling backstory of characters so that you get a sense of who they are as people.
Yeah.
It's I enjoy it.
Yeah. I mean, my 1 hour experience on Bones is parallel in the sense of like, you have this core, but then you get to do different stuff with the episodes, and it's so nice to, get back to the police station for a couple days as a breather while you develop these big sets. If there's an explosion or whatever,
Right. No, absolutely true.
No, it's so great. Are you watching anything good right now that inspires you?
Truthfully, I have not. I just finished work on Friday. I started. I'm on hiatus. I've got 3 weeks off because I go back on the 23rd because sets will have been moved and reanimated by then, and I have to start redressing them.
Oh wow!
So yeah,
short hiatus.
Our hiatus. My hiatus is literally 3 weeks.
That's not enough.
Zhao's getting no time off. Because Police Station doesn't fit in any of the sound stages at Paramount that it did at Warner Brothers, so they have to reconfigure things, and she has her work cut out for her.
Yeah.
I have we have packed up. We are on I think stage 21. It looks like my crew has everything on pallets and shrink wrap, and it's all labeled by whose home it is. And what set it is.
Good luck with storage over there. You're going to be in like a basement over.
Yes, that's what I heard.
You're going to be in a basement over under the mill.
Thursday or Friday, we were having lunch, and lead man got a phone call from producer, and off he was to go see where storage was. I'm like, okay, I'll see that at some point.
Yeah, it's fun. It's fun.
Yeah. Again, it's an opportunity to see a bit of the history of the building and how. It's like, okay, what the hell was this used for once upon a time?
Hey, do you know they just tore down that little back lot at Fox?
No.
Yeah. It's down to the bare bones. They're rebuilding it. I just heard that the other day.
They took down what was left of the Dolly set?
They took down that whole thing. My Royal Diner on Bone, they took it all down.
Wow.
Yeah.
What was their set? What was the facades there in the buildings were the Hello Dolly sets?
I mean, it was not given any love since Hello Dolly. I mean, we would screw in sconces and there, you was barely holding on because the walls were so bad. So it needs an uplift, and so many commercials. Every show, would film there on the lot, but it needed an uplift. So I'm glad I've heard that they're doing that. But yeah.
Oh, and it's now Disney, so
yeah. So maybe they'll make it. Maybe they'll make it magical. Who knows?
It'll become a castle.
Yeah. Who knows? I think I know the answer to this, but is there anything that you wish you decorated? Any movie, any show?
Yes, I wish I had done Being the Ricardos. I will actually say it, but I was very thrilled. Ellen did a spectacular job with it. Ellen Brill.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think I've no. There's that. That's the only project that has ever come along in my set decorating career that I have felt. Oh, I want to go after that.
Yeah.
Early on in my career, when I was a set dresser, and I got to work on the West Wing, because equally the other passion in my life is the White House and the history of the White House.
I love it.
So,
I'm in. I love it. I've been studying it for 8 years. I love it.
I love just the visuals from administration to administration, and see how things change, and see the continuity that exists with some pieces that go back to the 1800s that are still in the mansion.
And how the artwork is reused, and the
see where it gets used in different places.
And the movement of presidents is always fascinating to me.
Yeah, it's really, I find it. So when I had the opportunity to be a set dresser on West Wing, I really, early on, I remember hearing about the show and thinking, oh, I wish I were a set decorator, because I would love to do that.
Yeah.
But by being a set dresser on it, it equally, and Ellen Totleben, who was the set decorator, knew that she had a White House nerd on her crew.
It helps.
And would do things where at the beginning of each season, where she would buy, new hand props to get introduced into the main characters' sets. Mm-hmm. They would appear on a plastic dolly, and it would be like, "Go ahead, William, have fun."
Yeah, well, that's fantastic.
So there are changes in the sets that I know I did.
Right.
I see them all the time if I watch the show.
Right.
In Leo McGarry's, in Leo McGarry's office, he had a bookcase with a television set, and in the top right corner, I think the first season there was just like an obelisk there, and I decided, no, it should be a bust of JFK.
Nice.
So, and it always gets in the shot.
Yeah.
So every time I see it, I'm like, I did that.
Well, because it was more interesting, and they framed it that way. That's how you got to think. Yeah. I do. Are you on that Facebook group, the White House Facebook group?
I am.
I love it. I think I remember seeing your like some
and I made connections when Jen Pascal was doing
Cheney, whatever. Vice.
Is that what it was?
Vice. She did Vice.
It had to do with the Kennedy White House.
I forget.
Had to do with, I don't remember what it was, but it had to do with the Kennedy White House.
Well, she did 4 or 5 presidents on that, because Dick Cheney's been around forever.
I connected her with the Facebook page.
Oh.
And they provided her with all kinds of actual documentation.
Well, then she referred me to it, so I owe you a big thank you, because it's a huge help, and I'm still like, it's basically one of the pages I like check out when I'm rarely on Facebook. I check it out like, oh God, what do they got here? It's such a plethora of an enormous amount of like behind the scenes photos, and just some guy putting it all together. It's fantastic.
Which is why, as a set decorator, whenever I see White House that's not done well.
Yeah, I know.
It kind of drives me crazy, because if you're doing a specific administration, it's pretty well documented. Yeah. The residence is not as much, but yes, the main areas. You have to do a much deeper dig to get residence information.
Yeah.
But when I see those kinds of things, I'm like, okay, if it was Madison, if it was Jefferson, if it was
you could
Adams,
take some liberties.
You take a lot of liberties there. But it's like, if it was Truman.
Yeah, you got it. I only watched like 10 minutes of The First Ladies.
Haven't seen it yet.
I can't wait to dive in. I'm really excited to watch it all. I'm sure it's fantastic, but yeah.
I do know that I need to watch the last episodes of Grace and Frank.
I know. I binged 4 the other night.
Yeah, I did the tease 4 that they gave us a while ago.
Yes, I did those. And then I was like, oh, I must not have finished that season. Why would they only do 4? And then I had to look it up, and I was like, oh, they only did 4. That was weird. But yeah, I did another 4 the other night. So I only have like 5 left, which I'm trying to savor a little bit.
Right. I do. When I'm in working mode, I don't get to watch a lot of television.
Yeah.
I don't have a lot of time. I did make sure I watched Mrs. Maisel because
Yes.
it
Although
is
a weird ending. Are you with me on that? I didn't think that was the last episode, and then I was super bummed.
It was a little dangling. That's it.
That's it. Like
it didn't have cliffhanger finish.
Yeah.
It didn't have tie it up in a nice little bow finish. It was just an episode.
I feel like when a viewer has to look up, was that the last episode? I think you're in trouble in a sense of your writing. I don't know. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
Oh.
It is smart. It is witty. It's a fun.
It's a good show, and I think it's the last season.
Escape.
I think there's only one more.
I believe so.
Which is a bummer, but I get it.
Yeah, it's got to be exhausting.
Yeah.
Running around Manhattan in heels, that girl. God love her.
I love everyone but her, to be quite honest. I find her like like her the voice and their can't like I'm like
Her
but
cadence,
I love everyone else.
I love the mother.
I love the mother. I love Tony Shalhoub. I love
the scene where she gets hypnotized and does her
daughter's act. Bravo.
It is so. I think I felt like I was watching a mirror of myself every time they showed what's her name, Midge,
yeah.
And she was like, "Oh my God, it's my act." I was like, "Oh my God, it's her act." It was like literally every time I thought it, she was saying.
It's so good. The 4 of them sitting there watching it is so good.
The snowball of oh my God, train wreck.
Yeah, I want to know more about that magician, actually. I hope he gets a spin-off or something.
Yeah, because he's a fun character.
Yeah. Thank you so much. You're a plethora of just Hollywood insider information. Like
useless information. That's what I like.
Not useless to me. I'm the one in the audience. I'm Midge right now. Like what? Like you know a lot. Backside. I would never have known about using tunnels under Disney. I've never heard of that.
Here's a fun Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. The chandelier in the club that she's working in right now.
Yes.
They show it several times. I think when the girl in the bathtub performance, there's a big chandelier. It's Big Bertha, which is owned by Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Which I used in an episode of Pretty Little Liars and brought it back to the same soundstage 50 years after it was used in My Fair Lady.
You need to write a book. You need your own like Hollywood insider book.
The same chandelier.
That's crazy.
In My Fair Lady, in the ballroom scene, and you see it right over Audrey's head. I used it in Pretty Little Liars, and I would have loved to have seen the truck hauling it across the country to get it to New York for Marvelous Mrs. Maisel.
They must have taken all the crystals off or something. They had to have individually wrapped.
I used it. It took us a while to clean it. The poor girl she was quite dirty.
Yeah. But worth
it. So worth it. It was so fun to raise her up. But yeah, she was, and the wiring was a little fragile.
Well, aren't we all? Isn't all of our wiring a little fragile at this point? You do this long enough. That bitch has been around a long time. She deserves a little rewiring.
You see, that interview was a plethora of Hollywood history trivia. He could be a tour guide at WB or the Disney lot. All the years you work in this industry, you pick up little things here and there, but I never knew that there was tunnels underneath Disney. I mean, that is a good one. I don't know. No one ever told me that. I only worked there for like 2 months or something, but William was I just feel like he was such a great guest, and I feel like I need to have him on again. And maybe we do like a trivia show or something. So yeah, he's on Twitter all the time, giving great behind the scenes on there too. You should really give him a follow. He's at William DeBiasio, William, capital DEBIASIO. So yeah, he's a good follow if you're looking for some behind the scenes. He does have a lot of before and after looks on his account too, which is great to see sets like that. So I thank him so much for his time, and I really think I should have him on again. I don't know what you think. But yeah, next week I'm going to do an episode about inspiration. Ooh, books and movies and people and social media accounts. And so just a little thing to get people inspired and what inspired you. So that is next week. So I hope you got an earful. I'm Kim Wanup for Decorating Pages. With the Memorial Day holiday weekend just around the corner, it's that time to get your luxury pool float, the Stogie Floaty, available now with free shipping. Use promo code FLOATFREE on stogiefloaty.com.
Welcome to Pro Tips for the Pros, brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads. In this series, we'll explore essential advice for professional contractors to deliver outstanding renovation results. Let's dive in. Keep the work area clean and organized throughout the renovation process to create a positive impression and minimize stress for the customer. Regularly clean up debris and dust to maintain a safe and comfortable living environment. Thank you for joining us for this pro tip on planning thorough renovations. Stay tuned for more expert advice brought to you by Floor & Decor Bailey's Crossroads.
A lot of people tolerate ordinary. Ordinary bathrooms, kitchens, entryways. Well, not on your watch. If you're a pro, you've got a new partner in town. Floor & Decor. From tile to wood to stone, Floor & Decor has more styles and job lot quantities of Schluter, Mapei, Laticrete, and other brands pros trust. Come see a whole new way to wow with Floor & Decor. Coming soon to Bailey's Crossroads.